We almost had him, guys. We'll get him next time. Only a 41-point loss. We were right there. So close to beating the 4-11 Grizzlies. Do you think that's what Doug Christie is saying in the locker room? What could he possibly be saying in the locker room right now? I feel bad for Doug Christie because he was set up for complete failure. Obviously, he's not doing himself many favors, and there are going to be people out there like, fire Doug Christie, fire Doug Christie. I've already seen that a little bit. It's like, what do you think that's really going to do for this team? It's going to do absolutely nothing. I just can't imagine what you say to a team after a loss like this. Because in the past few games against very good teams where the Kings have had the strongest strength of schedule to start this season, they've been kind of close. They've been within 10, 15 points. They've been kind of hanging around. The veterans have stayed in the game for pretty much the entire game. And so now you go into a section of the season where you have the easiest strength of schedule for the entire rest of the season. And Keegan Murray's coming back. And before today, we didn't know the severity of Domantas Sabonis' injury. So we were like, okay, we're going to get fully healthy here. We've been kind of hanging around some of the great teams in the NBA. Are we maybe better than our record shows early on? Are we maybe actually a middling team instead of a bottom team like our record shows us now? And after that Thunder game, I said probably not. Even though we kept it close, I said probably not because I bet this team is going to play down to the level of their opponent. And when I said play down to the level of their opponent, I mean, I wasn't really correct. What I should have said is they're going to play well below the level of their opponent, no matter what that level is. They don't play at the level of their opponent. They will play 10 feet below the level of their opponent at all times, including a Memphis Grizzlies team that had only one more win than the Kings coming into this game, who are without John Morant, who are without Jaren Jackson Jr., so there's no excuse for the Kings of saying we don't have Domantas Sabonis, because we're not going to have Sabonis for the next month at least. And you just get embarrassed by a Grizzlies team that didn't even have a true point guard. They're starting Vince Williams Jr. out there at point guard, and we're making him look like prime Chris Paul, dishing out assists. The assist to turnover ratio throughout the game for the Grizzlies was incredible. 42 assists to 7 turnovers on the stats that I'm looking at. At halftime, they were 25-2 assist to turnover ratio. They weren't even shooting very well from three, and they were just dicing up the Kings defense. An absolute lifeless performance. I hope that you guys didn't actually watch this entire game, right? I did, so maybe you guys don't have to. I hope that you guys shut this game off maybe after the first quarter or after the first half, because I mean, this was completely embarrassing. After the last game, I posed the question. I said, is it better that the Kings are kind of hanging around in games, giving us a slight bit of hope? Or would it just be better if the Kings got completely blown out? In this game, they get completely blown out. And I don't know, I thought it was better. Because in the past games, I've never felt like there's actually been a shot, but like they're kind of sticking around, so I have to stay semi-interested. Whereas in this game, it was entertaining how badly the Kings were playing. It was entertaining to see how much worse it could get throughout the game. I thought they were going to lose by 50 at one point. It got pretty close. Whatever the opposite of being on a string defensively together is, whatever the opposite of that is, that's what the Kings are. Absolutely zero chemistry defensively, absolutely zero effort, zero energy. And this is one of the things I've said. We're actually, I think, trading away the veterans and trying to quote unquote tank by playing the young guys might actually be worse for a tank. It might actually be worse for your lottery odds, because right now the Kings are playing veterans. They obviously don't fit together, but now it's getting to the point where they don't care on the defensive end. I mean, everyone was awful, especially on the defensive end. The offensive end, that's an issue as well. Both sides of the ball is completely horrible, but on the defensive end is really where you can see the lack of effort. At least Keegan Murray made his return in this game. Keegan's back. That's great. Good to see Keegan back. He had some really good moments. He played the most minutes in this game out of any Sacramento Kings player. They didn't start it. They played him off the bench. They were probably hoping to ease him into this game, not play him too many minutes, not play him for large stretches of this game. But the Kings were so bad that they had to. And then down the stretch, they were like, okay, let's just get him into game shape in the fourth quarter. And so he ended up playing the most minutes at 32 minutes. So Precious Achiuwa got the start. Drew Eubanks got the start. And when they came out for the second half as well and had the exact same starting lineup, that was crazy to me. After what you saw in the first half, how could you just run out the same starting lineup for the next half of basketball? How are there no consequences for what happened in the first half? I understand everyone played bad, and if you could bench everyone, I'm sure we would love that. You obviously can't bench everyone, but it was kind of wild to me how there didn't seem to be any consequences for what happened in that first half. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen Doug McDermott or Dario Saric. Those guys get any sort of minutes. And the Kings played their starting unit for a lot of this game, even when they were down 30 points. In that third quarter, they were down 30 points, and it was Zach LaVine taking all the shots. Neat Clifford hadn't touched the floor yet. Keon Ellis didn't touch the floor in that third quarter. And that's what sucks, right? Is that the Kings are playing these veteran players that just aren't fun to watch if they're losing like this. There's no hope for the future in watching these veteran players just be completely lifeless on the basketball floor. At least let us watch Neat Clifford play more than 19 minutes, Keon Ellis play more than 16 minutes. I mean, even let us watch Malik Monk, who's obviously not a young player, he's a veteran player as well, but at least let us watch him play more than 14 minutes. And after all of this, and after all how poorly the Kings have looked, and how obviously this team doesn't fit together, and the veterans just are so incredibly brutal right now, I still am not convinced that this team will completely blow it up at the trade deadline. Some of it, of course, is can they find trades to move these guys away? But I'm still not even convinced that, Vivek's in there probably thinking, don't worry, Sabonis is going to come back. We're one trade away from being a really competitive team. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what he is thinking. You're playing your veterans, you're trying to win, and you are still sucking so bad that you are one of the bottom 5 teams in the NBA. This team just doesn't want to play for each other, and it's hard to watch, and it makes everyone look worse. Every player on the Kings looks worse than they actually are right now as an individual. And you just don't want that to leak into the young guys. If the vibes are so bad and if the energy is so bad, you just don't want that leaking into your young guys that you're trying to develop. And that's why just at all costs, other than draft capital or like attaching picks to these guys or attaching young players, like at all costs other than that, you have to get rid of some of these veterans at the trade deadline as soon as possible. You just cannot let this continue to be the team for the rest of the season because it's embarrassing. This may have been the most embarrassing performance that I've ever seen out of the Kings, and that is saying something. This team right now completely quit, and I think it's as simple as that. You're going up against the Grizzlies team starting Vince Williams Jr., Jalen Wells, Cedric Coward, Santi Aldama, and Zach Edey, and you get blown out that badly. Unsurprisingly, it was Zach Edey, it was Jock Landale, Jock. I love saying Jock Landale. And that's what I resorted to during the game, was just trying to have as much fun as possible watching this game for random reasons. Like whenever Jock Landale shot the ball, I would yell, Jock! But it was those two big guys dominating the Kings. It was Santi Aldama dominating. 29 points for Santi Aldama, 16 for Zach Edey, 21 for Jock Landale. Kings couldn't cope with the size. I mean, I guess we have to go through this game. It's going to be very quick, though. I ain't spending a lot of time going through what actually happened in this game because there's really not much to say other than the Kings quit. They were running up and down the court, allowing the Grizzlies to shoot wide open 3 after wide open 3 or get wide open dunks, and then they were just kind of dribbling around and chucking up shots. That's about all that happened. The Grizzlies started out attacking DeMar DeRozan, Jalen Wells going right at him, scoring at will. Then Zach Edey started to get into the action with a transition 3, but then he started dominating inside. It was truly as simple as if the Kings defense would collapse on Zach Edey, the Grizzlies would generate a wide open 3. If they didn't, it would be a dunk or Zach Edey getting an offensive rebound inside. And the same can be said when Jock Landale subbed into the game as well. He was getting the ball real deep before anyone on the Kings was stepping up to challenge it. He had 6 straight points. I think some of it was like Keegan Murray coming in and just being a little slow out there. Like he was a little slow getting to his spots. And, I'm definitely one of the only guys that gets a pass for this game is Keegan, it being his first game of the season. But the Kings defense just got completely shredded by the size of the Memphis Grizzlies on the inside, and absolutely brutal rotations, getting caught constantly ball watching, wide open threes for the Grizzlies every time down. They weren't even making that many of them, but they were getting a ton of wide open looks. The few positives of that first half on offense, Drew Eubanks hitting a three, but also, is that really a positive when Drew Eubanks has to bail you out with a three on an offensive possession? Not really. Zach LaVine came out hot, 10 points in the first quarter, pretty similar to against OKC, where he was aggressive in the first quarter as well. You had a few nice plays from Maxime Renaud, who is going to be getting a lot of time with Domantas Sabonis out, and I love that. He got 20 minutes in this one. I would love to see him just get put into the starting lineup and see what he can do. Because he came in, immediately got a contested defensive rebound, then contested an offensive rebound, forcing Jock Landale to go out of bounds and get the Kings another possession. Also had a post move off glass. He was looking solid when he would get deep post position, finishing around the rim. And then we did see Keegan Murray making his season debut. And right away he got the ball, isolation in the corner. Nice off the dribble baseline fadeaway using his body to generate space for his first bucket. So that was great. He also had some nice help defense moments, but on the ball, he was not good at all. You could see how his length was impacting the plays on the defensive glass, preventing offensive boards, getting tips, things like that. His help defense at times was good, but also he just looked slow out there. He was not up to speed. He couldn't stay in front of his man and was late on his rotations at times. So I think those are the things that will just come after a few games. The second quarter was a bunch of turnovers for the Kings. They were trying to play very fast. They were trying to play an up-tempo style. Dennis Schroeder was being aggressive, but he was just missing lots of shots around the rim and jumpers. So the Kings were playing fast, but they were turning it over. And the Grizzlies were the team that were converting. It was tons of turnovers, Zach Edey dunks, and all of a sudden the Kings were down 17. It was just laughable how bad the Kings were defensively. Getting picked apart by a team with no point guard, just moving the ball with ease, looking like the prime Warriors or something on the offensive end. And then on the offensive end, they were not playing as a team either. It was so much dribbling. There was a possession where Russell Westbrook just dribbled the ball for probably about 10 seconds, going absolutely nowhere, then just threw the ball to Drew Eubanks on the baseline, and he just had to take a few dribbles into the middle of the lane and take a contested long hook shot against Zach Edey. Like that, yeah, that's great offense, guys. That's what we want to see. I mean, it's just so much isolation basketball. And nobody, so slow in the half court. Nobody knew what they were doing. This team is probably the least connected team in the entire NBA. Things got so bad in that second quarter that Doug Christie was forced to put Keon Ellis into the game. You know he hated that. He hated putting Keon in there. With Keegan back, it seemed like Keon was the odd man out. But then the Kings played so badly that Keon got into the game anyways. In that first half, Zach Edey, Santi Aldama, and Jock Landale were all in double figures. Like I said, the Grizzlies were 25-2 assist to turnover ratio. The Kings were 12-7 assists to turnovers. Coming out in the second half, like I said earlier, same exact starting lineup. Russell Westbrook, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Precious Achiuwa, Drew Eubanks. I just don't understand how you couldn't make a change after what happened in that first half. How could you just run out the same exact lineup? And it wasn't too long before Keegan came into the game for Precious Achiuwa. It took Precious absolutely bricking a three off the backboard, and then Santi Aldama hitting a wide open three on the other end for the Kings to make that adjustment. I mean, the Kings kind of tried to keep it close. That's not the right word, but they were scoring a little bit. Russell Westbrook had a couple of threes, and then Zach LaVine started to go crazy. It didn't matter at all. It was absolutely Chris Paul hits a huge three to cut the lead to 42. That's what Zach LaVine was doing in that third quarter. I mean, it was impressive shot making. It was some great offense, but I mean, we need that a little earlier. Not that he wasn't doing that in the first quarter. He had 10 points in the first quarter, but it's just like it didn't matter. It would have been nice to have that for the past couple of games when he scored in single digits. In this one, he had 26 points, 10 for 17 from the field. It just annoyed me that the Kings were down 30. There was like 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes left in the quarter. For like the first 10 minutes of the quarter, it was just Zach LaVine taking every shot. Keon Ellis didn't get into the game in the third quarter. Nick Clifford didn't get into the game until the last couple of minutes. We're down 30. Zach LaVine was going crazy, and he only cut the lead to 24. Like, what are we doing? Just commit to the young guys. Just commit to the fun guys, at least. So it was just frustrating to watch the Kings, I don't know, I guess still try to win the game when they were down 30 with, 17 minutes left in the game. What a great third quarter. It ended down 37. Neek barely playing, Keon barely playing at all, Zach LaVine taking almost every shot. That's exactly what we want to see. And then the fourth quarter was completely garbage time the entire way. So at least we got to see Neek Clifford hitting a couple of threes, Max getting inside and getting some finishes. Precious Achiuwa with a quick drive, spin, fadeaway jumper. I guess he's got that in his bag. So that was cool. About, I don't know, midway through the second quarter, it just became about watching individuals. It just became about watching Keegan Murray in his first game back, and then watching what other individuals could do as well, like Neek Clifford, of course, and Maxime Renaud. Because that's what this team is. It's a whole bunch of individuals. There's no team play. It's completely individualistic. So let's at least talk about some of those individuals. Of course, we got to start with Drew Eubanks hitting a corner three, his first three of the season. So Precious Achiuwa hit a three last game. Drew Eubanks hit a three this game. What's next? Is Dylan Cardwell going to come in and hit a three? Maybe. You never know. But he was kind of carrying the Kings offense for a little bit. Hit that corner three, hit a couple of his long push shots from the middle of the lane, so he was doing some good things offensively. But then other than him, of course, we're looking at Keegan Murray. He had 11 points. I love that he took 13 shot attempts. Went 5 for 13 from the field, 1 for 6 from 3. He just came in and he was going to get his shots up, especially once the Kings were losing so badly. And that's what we want to see. He's trying to find his flow, and he knocked down quite a few jumpers. So we want to see him start to get into that rhythm. And some of his moves were quite impressive. He had a really nice up and under move with good footwork on Zach Edey. So at least one more guy gets into the lineup that plays a lot of minutes that I enjoy watching. Maxime Renaud had 20 minutes, 12 points in those 20 minutes, 3 defensive rebounds. Like I said earlier, he also forced an offensive rebound, or forced a turnover from the Grizzlies. I don't know how that was counted in the box score, but Jock Landale stepping out of bounds with the rebound. I don't know if they count that as a turnover or a team rebound, team offensive rebound for the Kings, but either way, you can definitely see he's been working on his physicality, and he's been trying to dominate the interior. And the one thing that I love that he's been doing is he's been very committed to running the floor and trying to establish deep post position. He did that many times, especially in the fourth quarter when he was getting a ton of playing time. And the Kings did a pretty good job of finding him. I think Neek Clifford was one of the guys that was really trying to find him down low. And then once Max would catch the ball deep in that post position, of course, you got to have a finish to it. And he absolutely did, finishing efficiently with good footwork, a good assortment of post moves from him. So loving what we're seeing from Maxime Renaud. He's definitely been a pleasant surprise so far this season. And then our other rookie, Neek Clifford, had 8 points, 2 for 3 from the field. Both of them being 3-pointers, went 2 for 2 from 3. Also drove inside, drew some fouls, went 2 for 4 from the free throw line. I like when he gets downhill. And I think right now he very much has one speed. When he's getting downhill, he's just trying to take it to the basket as hard as he possibly can. And at times that absolutely works. Other times it can look dumb. He can, get called for a charge or turn the ball over. But in this one, it definitely worked out where he was just going hard and he was drawing fouls. And then we also saw in that fourth quarter him step out, hit a couple of threes coming around screens. I think he's also shown that he's got some good hands defensively, able to knock the balls away, get deflections, get steals. I just hope going forward in this season, we see him playing more than 19 minutes a game, that he gets the 20 plus minutes per game. Or, 19 minutes per game wouldn't even necessarily be bad for him, but this was a game where the entire fourth quarter was garbage time, and he only reaches that 19-minute mark. That's where you got to get rid of some of the veterans in front of him so you can get him more playing time. But look, that's about it for this game. I mean, there's not much to say other than it was a completely embarrassing performance. And it was the most winnable game that the Kings have had for a very long time, maybe this entire season, other than against the Jazz when they won that game. I don't know. I would even say that this game against the Grizzlies may have been even more winnable than that Jazz game, just considering who the Grizzlies were throwing out there. But I also think it just shows the state of the Kings that, I mean, this is a dead team walking. And now they have to go into Denver. They're on an 8-game losing streak. They have to go into Denver, then come home to play Minnesota again for the third time. All of this without Sabonis for like the next month. It seems like a 10-game losing streak is coming. So let's look at the schedule and try to predict the Sacramento Kings' next victory. Do I think they're going to win at Denver? No. Do I think they're going to win at home against Minnesota? No. Do I think they're going to win at home against Phoenix? No. Then they go to Utah. I mean, that could be a win, but then I think about the size that Utah has and how they barely squeaked out a win at the beginning of the season. Okay, probably not. I'm thinking you might have to go all the way to December 8th against Indiana. I mean, look, they'll probably squeak out a win before that, but December 8th against Indiana, that may be the next game that the Kings are favored in, if they even are favored in that one. I mean, look, I'm not against losing. I'm not against tanking and trying to get Darren Peterson. Come home, Darren Peterson. But we at least got to make it a little bit fun to watch, right? Watching DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine and Dennis Schroeder and it's brutal. What are they putting us through? This has to be some sort of experiment, some sort of torture. And yet here I am, watching every single game, talking about every single game. So I guess I will see you guys on Saturday back here for our social experiment to see how long I can last doing this before I lose my sanity. Peace.